Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Optimus Weekly, and today we're going to be talking about social media, the things that have made so many of the major social media platforms that we've used in our daily lives now for probably years if you're like me, and we're also going to talk about some of the things that have held them back, and some of the decisions that have been made by these companies that I believe, and I'm sure many of you will agree, but that I believe are basically holding these companies away from making their platforms better, are basically destroying some of these platforms, and it's kind of all leading to this gradual decline in quality across all of social media that I feel like many of you have noticed. So before we go ahead and get into the full discussion today, there are a few things that I want to go ahead and address really quick. So first and foremost, the schedule for Optimus Weekly. Just to reiterate this once again, episodes of Optimus Weekly will be coming out every single week on Sunday at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So noon Eastern every Sunday, you will see a new episode of Optimus Weekly here on the channel. Next thing I want to address, I will start having guests on the show starting in the next few episodes. I am going to be reaching out to a lot of people and trying to schedule people to come onto the show to have conversations and whatnot. So hopefully within the next few episodes, we can start kind of picking up on that as well. Also, if you're interested in Optimus Weekly and you're also interested in exclusive YouTube uploads here on the channel, early access to my upcoming private Minecraft server, and much more, please make sure that you know if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by hitting the join button down below, the membership. There's 3 different tiers. They have different perks. You can check those out for yourself down below under this video. Watch Optimus and Hire will be getting episodes of Optimus Weekly uploaded on Saturday for them, so you will get a day early access, but the show will be coming out every week on Sunday for everybody. And the last thing too, I am currently in the process of trying to get this all set up to actually make this a multi-platform show. As of right now, I'm obviously only uploading this to YouTube, but in the future, I would like for this to be on, Apple, Spotify, pretty much anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. And I'm working on that right now. Hopefully, once again, in the next few episodes, I will be able to finally start issuing them out across all these platforms, and I will, of course, update the catalog to bring any episodes that weren't aired on all these other platforms. So soon, you will be able to access all Optimus Weekly episodes off of YouTube on other platforms. So with those things being said, let's go ahead and start the discussion. So social media has been a pretty major, I would say, pivotal part of many, if not all of our lives here watching this, right? I mean, for instance, right now, we're using a social media platform, YouTube, and it's one of the largest social media platforms, not only right now, but of all time. I mean, YouTube revolutionized the internet in a pretty major way because it finally gave everybody online a unified place where they could upload and view video content, and it didn't really matter what it was, right? It didn't have to fit any specific theme or topic. It could be a video of you vacuuming your living room. It could have been a video of you dancing outside in a park. It didn't really matter. Whatever it was, you could upload it to YouTube. And back in the day, the, I guess, slogan for YouTube was broadcast yourself, right? Which would really portray this image of a platform that wants people to share their individuality, right? The type of platform that is community-based and wants these people in their community to provide all of the content in a way that shows who these people are, what their hobbies are, or their interests are, right? And obviously, since YouTube's inception, it's grown and evolved and changed in so many different ways. And so hasn't really every social media that we can really think of. I mean, for instance, Twitter, as of a couple weeks ago, is now called X, right? And even then, I feel like most people on Twitter are not calling Twitter X. Like, even now, I'm still not calling Twitter X. And obviously, Facebook even has changed a lot since the days where it was a place where reconnecting with people in your life was the main priority, and now it's just for Mark Zuckerberg to harvest all of your data. But social media has been a pretty genius idea, right? Like, ever since social media really started kind of coming on the scene, it's done a lot of things for the internet, and it's changed it in a lot of positive and negative ways. And with all of these different things and all these different platforms with all these different experiences, right, there's obviously different stories. For instance, Facebook was initially like a college social network for students at like Harvard and other schools, because that's where Mark Zuckerberg went and where he founded Facebook and started developing it and everything, right? So obviously, since the days of its inception, it has grown beyond that, and now billions of people use Facebook to see their uncles rant about politics, find out which of the high school classmates that you had have finally gotten pregnant, married, or divorced, and eventually just get one of those like one-off notifications from a family member like 6 generations away or something, right? But what really made social media platforms great in the first place? It's really kind of a cool thing to think about because, I mean, in all reality, a lot of people I feel like are not necessarily fed up with social media, but I think a lot of people are starting to kind of see through the cracks now. When social media was like a new hot thing, right? It was just so awesome in the way that there was nothing quite really like it, right? It was a completely new transformative experience. I mean, the internet had forums and there was like AOL chat rooms and things like that, but it wasn't true social media. I mean, even like MySpace, being able to customize your profile with your favorite songs and things like that, these kinds of things just set these different places apart in ways that really gave them not only identity, but gave users a reason to want to come to them. And I feel like as time went on and they added all these new features and they started developing all these new schemes and things that they could do with social media, right? In a way, it's kind of lost a little bit of that magic. And that's something that a lot of people I feel like don't realize is a big reason why we view these social media platforms as being better way back in the day is because, well, we have nostalgia for these times, right? We see them with rose-tinted glasses, you know? In a lot of ways, these social medias were primitive back in the day, you know? They lacked a lot of the awesome features that we expect in platforms today. Maybe even the security wasn't as good, right? But it was a completely different time online, right? And at a certain point in time, the internet started kind of picking up on social media, and then communities started growing. And then these suddenly social media platforms that started out with small beginnings, you know, that had maybe limited functionality at one point were bringing people together in a completely new way. I mean, 100 years before social media existed, you had pretty much zero chance of talking to like 99.9% of the population of the world. And then now that things like the internet and social media have advanced to this point, you can literally talk to damn near anybody with an internet connection at this point, right? So, for instance, what made, for me at least, Twitter better back in the day was it was much more of like a Wild West community. Not to say you could get away with saying a lot more, but the platform not only wasn't as bad in terms of like clout chasing oddballs, but the community had its own like culture back then that I feel like it's lost in a way. Like a lot of the OG Twitter users who were there before like 2016 and in the later years, even like over the pandemic, right? Like we remember the Twitter platform back then and all these different things about it, right? And once again, you know, we see it with a lot of nostalgia, but at the same time, right, it was better back then. Because, I mean, like, look at Twitter now, right? It's not even Twitter anymore. They rebranded it to X. Half of the platform completely hates Elon Musk and his management of the platform. There's been a lot of very weird and bizarre changes and ideas thrown around for this platform. And this was a website that I think had one of the most iconic brands in the world. And, I mean, that's also what made Twitter great is it was different than the other social medias. Like, sure, you could make posts and statuses on Facebook, but you didn't have to do it in 140 characters or less, and there wasn't really retweeting and things like that. The features on Twitter were significantly better in a lot of ways, and the Twitter community felt way more open, I feel like, back then, right? And for instance, like Twitch, right? It became one of the big platforms, one of the first platforms that really helped pioneer, like, internet streaming. It started out as Justin TV. It was really a place for people playing video games to stream, but obviously as it's grown and as it's evolved, we've seen Twitch go from a place where people are playing video games to, well, a place where women are doing bikini streams, selling the biggest D awards to people who donate the most amount of money, right? So these platforms, they grow and change, right? And in a lot of ways, that's okay. I feel like a lot of people, they hate those kinds of changes. They don't want to see platforms go through these growing pains where they maybe stray away from the initial message a little bit for the sake of growing. And realistically, that's a sacrifice that every social media platform makes. At a certain point, they all have to become more strict on copyright, and they all have to crack down more on hate speech, and that's just kind of like a common thing that these platforms really go through, and I feel like a lot of people also forget that too. And Twitch is one of those platforms that has done that, but even then, right, like, it was great, it feels like a decade ago, but the decisions that are constantly made by the folks in control now are running the platform completely into the ground, to the point where not only is most of the large talent on the platform jumping ship and signing contracts with companies like Facebook, Rumble, YouTube gaming, things like that, but Even people in the community are fed up and are finally speaking out against the company about a plethora of different things. And keep in mind, these are mostly things that I've also talked about on my channel several times before. I mean, over the years, maybe in the last 4 years, right, I've probably made like 24 videos critiquing different decisions made by Twitch, different updates on the company and what they're up to, right? And it's just because of the stupid shit that they do. Like, most people would never think that a company could be ran by such fucking incompetent people, but man, I genuinely feel like if you could like look into the brains, I guess, of Twitch employees, it would be like two fucking rocks colliding together, right? Like, there'd be a couple neurons going, and that'd be about it. Like, the fucking decision making is so horrible. The platform doesn't know how to actually issue punishments for its own rules. Like, certain creators will get these like weirdly privileged statuses where they can essentially do and say or whatever the fuck they want, right? And then like nothing really happens to them. For instance, there have been numerous creators at this point who are partnered with Twitch who have been suspended from the platform like 7 different fucking times for various and duplicate violations of the same shit. And, you know, they nothing happens, really. At most, like I said, they get like a 3-day ban or a week ban, and then they're right back the fuck at it. And guess what? People call out Twitch for things like this. Like, what is going on with the people making the decisions? And then there's no sort of community response. There's no sort of issuance or anything from the company. And to circle back to YouTube, right? It went from a platform where it was about broadcasting yourself to suddenly more favored towards corporations. They started being a lot more lax with these big corporations. Massive people in Hollywood, you know, late night talk show hosts, basically just getting away with doing whatever they want. Like, their monetization rules aren't really the same as everyone else's. And just some brain dead decision making on the part of YouTube as well. And it's, of course, gotten to the point where there's been not only a lot of confusion from creators on the platform about different issues and different things, but there's been a lot of backlash to the platform itself for their lack of ability to communicate, their inability to actually effectively fix issues on the platform. And so there's a lot of different tales, of course, when you talk about what happened to social media, because all these different platforms have suffered their own setbacks and gone through their own issues individually. And realistically, none of them are completely the same, right? Because, I mean, so many different platforms have come and gone over time, right? And in a way, that's kind of just part of the social media game. I feel like you get your time on top. Every dog has their day. For a while, it was all about Facebook, right? That was the cool shit. And then, you know, YouTube when it came to videos and everything. Twitch when it came to streaming, Instagram when it came to pictures, and then now TikTok, of course, has come through and fucked everything up for these American companies. But of course, we'll talk a little bit more about TikTok here in a little bit, but let's go ahead and discuss some of the major changes, I feel like, in the last few years that I feel like have really contributed to these declines for these platforms in terms of quality. First, starting with Facebook, the platform once again started as like a very community-driven, like community-oriented thing, right? And as it needed to grow to satisfy investors and actually bring in some sort of cash so they could justify the money going out, Facebook kind of quote-unquote sold out. And not because they added ads to their website, that's not really selling out, but they destroyed in a lot of ways this community-driven platform in a way, effort essentially, to create this social media platform that generates the most amount of money possible. And I get it, right? Facebook, aka Meta, is a massive corporation. They're once again trying to satisfy investors. They're trying to make their financials look as good as possible. And I don't think that's really the problem, because there's been a lot of initiatives that social media platforms have taken to monetize their platforms in legitimate and proper ways. And Facebook, as they have done some of those things, have also done some also very questionable things. For instance, Facebook and their subsidiaries like Instagram and now Threads have all just become the same fucking thing that every other app is. And that's one major problem that most social media platforms have. It's not just Facebook, but Facebook is definitely spearheading this in a lot of ways. But as time has gone on, Facebook has led this like pioneering of just pirating essentially all the cool features that had all the other social medias standing out in the first place, right? Like Facebook merged with Instagram, so like you could fucking combine your timelines. Then also Facebook decided that it was a good idea to add like stories, which is just a ripoff of Snapchat's stories. Then of course, you know, they have Facebook Reels now, which is their ripoff of TikTok. Instagram, of course, also has Reels and also has stories, and every app now has like messaging features. Well, that's kind of been standard in a lot of them, but like they all do the same thing now. Like every app is implementing texting and calling and video chatting and shit. It's gotten to the point where like the social media market has like homogenized in such a weird way down to this like same bland uniform look. Like all of the timelines look the exact same now. Profiles look pretty much the same on every platform now. The algorithms operate very similarly on every platform now. Like, it feels like we've gotten to a point with social media where everything is everything. I mean, back in the day, you could use Facebook to see what everybody in your college friend group was up to and your family was up to, and, you know, just see what was going on. Now it's a place where you can send people money, make phone and video calls, text and chat, watch TikToks, scroll through memes, post pictures and videos to your Facebook and Instagram, play different games through the Facebook gaming thing, shop through Facebook Marketplace, and that's probably not even everything, if we're being honest. That's just the fucking, like, tip of the iceberg, I guess, right? And keep in mind, every other platform is doing the same fucking thing now, like Twitter, for instance. I mean, Elon Musk wants to make it to where Twitter can make messaging and phone and video calls, and it'll be a payment processor you can send and receive money through. And it, of course, had made updates to similarities to TikTok and shit, right? Like, this is all going down the same road of every app has short-form video content. Every app has messaging and money capabilities. Every app is now a news source, right? Like, it's gotten to this point where they all do the same fucking thing. Like I said, back in the day, you could do different things on all these different platforms, and that's what made them cool, is it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting on YouTube so I can watch, you know, internet videos, watch what other people are doing in their everyday lives, kind of just take a fucking peer into the creativity of other strangers. And now, for instance, YouTube is everything and above too. I mean, they added YouTube shopping recently so people can affiliate products in their videos, which I will say is a good feature. It helps creators monetize themselves and build their brands and actually adds revenue sources to the platform that are legitimate. But like, every app wants to be the video platform, shopping platform, messaging and calling platform, bank transaction, PayPal platform. Like, when does it stop and when do they actually become original, unique ideas again? When do they actually start doing things differently that makes them stand out from the fucking competition? Because that's what I miss about social media. I miss when you could, you know, go on Facebook and it was just local shit, right? Whatever was going on in your personal world. And then you could go to YouTube, you could watch videos, enjoy yourself, go to Twitter, type a couple thoughts out, fucking, you know, like a couple funny tweets. And that's not to say you can't still do these things. They still all offer these functionalities. It's still the main draw, but at the same time, they're sacrificing the quality of these things that made them great in order to push out these new features that please investors. And that's really, I feel like, the downfall of so many of these different platforms, like Twitch, for instance, right? They got bought by Amazon. They're owned by Amazon now, right? Like, of course, get the bag. That's what they did. They got the funding. They got the security of being an Amazon subsidiary company and whatnot, which is great for them, and that's cool, but now the platform is falling the fuck apart and it can't keep up with the competition in so many different ways. And it comes down to decision making. A lot of these different things, it's just decision making, like what direction, I guess, does the platform want to go in? Where do the executives in these decisions go? Like, they basically sit in these big conference rooms, right? And they spitball ideas, and all of the ideas are designed to make these platforms as addictive and useful as possible, right? Because when you combine that additivity, right, with that usefulness, that creates a lethal cycle where, for instance, like TikTok has completely rotted the average American's brain because it's an app you can load, it instantly pulls up content, All of the content is a minute or less for the most part, so everything is super discernible and it's info packed right there, super stimulating, and at any time you can just swipe to the next video. It's that easy, right? So when TikTok came along and basically helped blow back up the short form content wave after Vine basically disappeared and after Musical.ly and whatnot, right? All these other platforms were suddenly like, oh, holy shit, here's a new platform doing something different, actually shaking it up, making something a little bit different, something a little bit more unique. And I know it's cool it's awesome to hate on TikTok, I get it, but at the end of the day, they did help revolutionize social media in a pretty major way with this kind of decision here. And while a lot of other mostly American social media platforms have been making pretty stupid decisions over the last few years that are making their users a lot more upset with these companies, TikTok has brought in a new wave that has helped popularize a whole new form of content that now has even like YouTube. This is a platform that has always been about long form content. Even they're now shifting with like YouTube Shorts to try and grow with that short term wave, because like that is realistically the future of social media. And it's because TikTok came along and did something different and brought it to people in a unique and ingenious way. And they really stepped into like the American/Western market, and they really shook even a lot of these massive tech giants, because of course TikTok has funding back home. It's owned by a pretty massive company. It's a pretty good moneymaker. But even then, like with all of these good things that TikTok did for social media, it also has helped accelerate this trend where every other social media platform is trying to be every other social media platform. Like I said, basically at least every website now has dedicated short form content navigation, right? Like they have a mock-up basically of TikTok. Like you look at 90% of the short form videos from Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatnot, the UI is damn near the exact same as TikTok. I mean, they're stealing their whole fucking flow, word for word, bar for bar, everything about it, they're taking it and putting it on these platforms. And like I said, this is that type of shit that's been going on for years now, man, because, Snapchat, they came along back in the day, they brought out the, 24-hour stories, and that was like pretty revolutionary to social media at the time. And once again, Facebook and all these other platforms ran with that idea. And so we're at this point in time where now TikTok is shaking everything up so much, even to the point where like there's been calls to ban it because people in government are so worried about the effects that it could possibly have. And like, to be fair, can you really blame anyone for being worried about how this is really going to affect society? I mean, TikTok is degenerate shit, right? Like, I think most of us can agree a lot of the things that you're gonna see on TikTok are just garbage. Like, it's gotten to the point where even like if you've watched a lot of my videos on the channel, right, that you'll notice a lot of people go to TikTok for like clout chasing activities, right? They'll film themselves essentially breaking into strangers' houses or committing crimes, doing just scummy, disgusting shit in an effort to blow up on TikTok. And of course, people were doing shit like this on YouTube and other platforms, but TikTok, it's a whole new way, right? Because instead of like trying to build a YouTube channel where, for instance, you're going around pranking people by being assholes in public and whatnot, you have people filming themselves doing crazy, insane, just ridiculous shit for like a 30-second video. So they up the ante by 10 to try and pack as much like basically dumb shit as they can into this little video so they can go viral. And we've seen so many instances of people just making complete fucking morons of themselves through TikTok. And even now, like as TikTok continues to dominate and it continues to do well, we've seen how basically the entire social media world has reacted to it. And I don't think that TikTok necessarily is like gonna kill all these other platforms, but it definitely was a massive wake-up call. And, Elon Musk, for instance, like he took over Twitter back a few months ago, right, in an effort to try and make Twitter better and provide like a place for, quote, free speech and to like bring a place where people can come together regardless and just enjoy a social media. And then since then, right, he's tried to expand the idea to now this like X brand that once again will do like banking transactions and money whatnot, right? Like it's becoming the, quote, everything app, apparently. And, it's gotten to this point, right, where I feel like, and I think a lot of other people too feel like, ever since Elon Musk kind of took over Twitter, it's gotten to a point where a lot of the choices being made are clearly in detriment to the platform. And, Elon, as good as he has been at a lot of things, right, he's helped lead Tesla to be one of the most valuable companies in the world. Starlink is a very successful internet brand, right? Of course, not to even mention his space adventures and whatnot. It just like he's done a lot of great things. He's been very successful in business across the board, right? But when it comes to running a social media platform, I don't think he has it completely figured out. And that's not to say that he can't like successfully run Twitter or like that he can't really do it. I think he just prioritizes like his goofy, random, psyche, wacko ideas. I think he just justifies them too much in his head. And he ends up going against what a lot of people want. For instance, there was the whole rate limits controversy recently, the dark mode being basically forced feature that eventually got reversed after backlash, the Twitter Blue fiasco, the rebranding of Twitter to X. There's so many different things, right, that you can critique Elon Musk on when it comes to his management of the company. But ultimately, right, I think there has been a little bit of quality decline on Twitter since he came along. Now, I think a big part of it actually comes down to the monetization, right? So Twitter has a feature now where if you have Twitter Blue and you have gotten, I think they lowered the threshold down to 5 million impressions on your tweets in the last like 90 days, you're eligible for ads sharing from the ads that are put in like the replies to your tweets. So if you get 20 million impressions on your account, you can get monetized and make a couple bucks off Twitter. And this is a good feature on paper, right? Because like hypothetically, people who are creators online who actually are providing content to people can use Twitter in a way that allows them to monetize themselves and expands their monetization, which is a good thing. But what it's really led to is a lot of people just creating the most insane clickbait garbage tweets that are just socially engineered to like piss people off or like go viral for the wrong reasons. And it sucks because like Twitter used to be a platform where like genuinely funny shit went viral all the time. Like back in even a couple years ago, man, I feel like you could get on Twitter and there'd just be funny shit on your timeline. Like even from people you didn't follow, it'd just pop up. Like if someone you followed liked it or something, right? And like Twitter, I just feel like was in a better place back then. And then now, right? For instance, there's been a lot of spam on the timeline where primarily like gimmick accounts will post like other people's content or like steal memes or something, or like try to rage bait people and shit to just garner as much impressions as they can. And then recently, like after they started getting monetized and they realized like, oh fuck, I can, make money being ingenuine or whatever, a lot of them started like doing promos with OnlyFans models and shit where they'd like tag them in their posts. And then they started getting exposed. They were taking these like OnlyFans promotions for like $25 fucking dollars, like selling themselves out for $25. And a lot of that shit has been just kind of flooding the timeline recently. Lots of like race bait content and just garbage in general. Now, Twitter has always been kind of a vitriolic place, especially in recent years. It's kind of always been a place where there's a lot of anger, a lot of misplaced anger at that. But it's gotten pretty bad in recent memory, man. Like I can genuinely not remember it being this bad at any other point. So it gets to the point, right, when you consider all these things where you're like, oh man, well, what's the future of these platforms though? What are we here to expect, right? Well, I mean, they're going to continue, I feel like, consolidating down into these fucking everything apps where everything is everything, right? They all do the same thing. There's no originality. There's no unique discernible features or branding. They're all going to go to these simplistic logos, simplistic color schemes where all of the life is drained from them. Basically, social media is going to be at a place where it's nothing but profit and product. That's all it is. It's just fucking a way for tech companies to generate money by farming and harvesting your data, your analytics, your retention status, things like that, right? And, for instance, like YouTube, right? They're trying to do all these different things to make the platform do everything. Like even this podcast feature I'm utilizing right now. This didn't exist 5 years ago on YouTube. This is a newer feature where they're trying to compete with, Spotify and all these other platforms that do podcasts. So they're going to continue doing this, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And that kind of sucks to say because I know a lot of people are kind of fed up with it and a lot of people don't really want to deal with it anymore, but that's just kind of where everything is. I don't really see any incentive for them to change. I mean, they're all making so much money doing it this way. Why would they do anything but what they're doing, right? Like the way that they've been moving, the way that a lot of these companies have been operating, it's making them good money. And, not every platform is profitable. I know Facebook's had its up and downs, even though it's made a good amount of money. For instance, like Twitter, I think is just now reaching break even on their operating profit. I could be wrong, but I believe I did see that the other day. So like, it just really depends on how everything continues to work. Like, of course, there's going to be new platforms and new features that come along from them that kind of revolutionize social media and like revolutionize the way we use everything. And, they're just going to get copied by every other platform, of course, but I think it's going to be something interesting to watch, and it's going to be interesting to see how society reacts to all of this, right? The way that social media is going, the way that things operate with it, because there is a lot of different avenues that we could explore when it comes to this and the effects that it has, not only on society, but on all of us individually. And, for instance, our attention spans. I mean, kids' attention spans are already lessening and lessening over time. Imagine what TikTok is going to do to the average kid's brain when it comes to things like that. So, of course, there's plenty more to discuss, but that is going to be the end of this episode. So I'm, of course, testing a few different things, right, when it comes to this. Still the second episode. I want to test doing them a little shorter, a little longer. I want to try and make sure episodes on average are around 30 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the subject matter, the guest, whatever's going on, right? Could be more, could be less, but, when it comes to this topic, I think it's best to break it down a little bit more, so I might make more content talking about things like this in the future. But with that being said, thank you guys for listening to or watching the Optimus podcast, and until my next video, this is Optimus, talking about why social media sucks now, and signing out.